after last meeting. So what we're going to talk about today is SDMX annotations and how they're used in the SDG data structure definition. And let me start my presentation. It will be relatively short. It won't take up all the 2 hours, but if you have any questions now about any of the other topics that we have covered at the workshop, and then if you have any other questions, you can have a chance to ask them. Okay, so where's my presentation here? Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So let's start. So what is an SDMX annotation? It's a construct that has a user or organization specific metadata, and I will explain what it means, user organization or organization specific. It's a very flexible mechanism which allows you to add pieces of metadata to almost anywhere in the data structure definition. An annotation consists of it's basically an element that has an ID and has 4 components: type, title, text, and URL. So what is it about SDMX annotations that makes them so special? Annotations do not have to be declared, right? If you are familiar with the data structure definition, before you can use a code in a data set, you need to declare it as part of a code list, right? Same thing goes for the concept. In SDMX, the structural metadata is very strict. Before you can use any piece of structural metadata, it has to be declared. With annotations, that's not the case. You can stick annotations almost anywhere, and you can use it for your own purposes. You can use it, for example, to drive your own visualization systems, your own presentations. You can add any arbitrary information that you would like. And since it's defined by the user, there is basically no ownership. I mean, there are very few or no ownership issues at all. So you remember when before you could modify a code list, you needed to take ownership of it. There's a whole process, versioning, and so on. Annotations are not versionable. And yes, they are part of an artifact, and strictly speaking, you need to update the artifact that you want to modify. But ownership issues are much less prominent, much less complicated than with other SDMX artifacts. They can be added almost anywhere in the DSD, right? So you can put them into your data flow. You can put them into your code list. You can put them into directly into your data structure or anywhere else. It does not affect how these artifacts function. Basically, these annotations, they are, if you're talking about SDMX registry, for example, I mean, it will allow annotations anywhere. And again, they can be very useful for adding custom metadata for your own purposes. But then, as often happens, the cons are extension of the pros. The annotations cannot be declared and they cannot be validated. You might ask, we just said that this is a good thing, but well, it does have a flip side. So for example, you may remember you declare a data structure, you declare a code list, and you declare codes in your code list. And then if you try to use a code that has not been declared in your data set, then you'll have an error, a validation error. With annotations, that's not the case. You don't declare an annotation, you just put them into your structure, into your artifacts. And therefore, you can't really validate annotations for being present or absent. It's all custom. You can create your own custom validations that will check for it. But then, of course, you run the risk of not being able to use other data structures, which are perfectly valid, but which don't have the annotations that you expect. So basically, annotations cannot be declared, cannot be validated. It makes them more difficult to use because if, for example, you make a mistake in one of the fields in the annotations, there's no way you can detect it. If you expect an annotations named presentation, and then by mistake you make it presentations, right? Adding a different another character, then your software will not be able to detect that situation. So no validations, no declarations. And because of that, they're difficult to reuse, right? So as always in our business, flexibility comes at the expense of interoperability and usability. The more flexible, I mean, flexibility is a good thing, but it does have a flip side. Any questions so far? If you have a question, once again, I don't see your, if you raise your hand, I don't see it. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to speak up. Any questions? No questions. Okay, let's go on.
Sorry.
So,
sorry,
yes.
Leonard had his hand. Leonard had his hand
Yes,
up.
Leonard, go ahead.
Yes, Abdullah. Since there is no declaration of such variables, is it safe to use or can be used by anyone who have got access to it? I'm talking on the security issues. If the annotation, if you cannot declare it, then is it safe to use it in terms of about security issues?
In terms of security, I don't think so. This is an interesting question, actually. I've never thought about that. I don't think that it presents a security issue in itself. I mean, in theory, you could hide some malicious payload in an annotation. For example, a link to some rogue website. But you could also do that with, I don't know, name or description in a code list. So I don't think that an annotation is an additional risk, but this is something interesting. I mean, remember, we're talking about structural metadata, right? We're talking about documents, not executable file. But Leonard, you may be right. There might be an additional security risk in there, but I don't think it's a major risk, and I think it needs further analysis. But what's interesting is if we talk about actionable annotations, so this next topic I wanted to talk about is the guidelines on using SDMX annotations. Basically, for a bit of history, what happened was, since annotations were so flexible and they could be used anywhere, people started using them. And major systems such as .stat, for example, developed their own annotations that they used to drive visualizations. For example, to drive the layout of a data flow on the screen. But of course, since annotations cannot be declared, everybody was using them as they, everybody started going their own way. And then a few years ago, I think in 2020, the statistical working group started an initiative to standardize annotations and to create a controlled vocabulary of those annotations. In other words, to create a list of well-known annotations who had a predefined semantics and that could be acted on by machines. And such a list was developed. It's published at the SDMX.org. You can follow the link and open it. And there you will see several dozen annotations that have a predefined semantics. So basically, it's a list of annotations, and then the software, SDMX software tools, can be programmed to act on those annotations. In other words, they can be programmed that when you see this annotation, then this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, so this is a very important initiative, and it's continuous. We are adding more and more annotations that help drive visualization systems, that improve referencing, and so on and so forth. I will tell you also that the danger here is that there is a feeling that annotations are abused, because what sometimes happens is, annotations, they are used where there is no other way. And what happens is that if someone is using an annotation, this may be an indication that something needs to be added to the standard. And it is happening. So things that were previously defined as annotations, they could start to be added as part of the standard. So those parts that could be declared could be validated. And for example, at this time, the presentation is driven by annotations. SDMX itself does not define presentation standards or presentation support, presentation layer support, but in a subsequent version of SDMX, probably in the next couple of years, we will see visualization support presentation layer introduced into the standard itself. So it's an interesting thing. Sometimes what happens is that something which starts as annotation then gets built into the standard. Any questions so far? No questions. Okay, let's go on. So how are annotations used in the SDG data structure definition? They are principally used in the series code list. And they're used to link a series to its indicators, right? And simplify visualizations. It is used in the global data structure definition, and it can be used in national data structure definition. If you look up the guidelines for the global SDGs, you will see that it's there, but we'll also review those annotations here. Okay, so GL series annotations. You will see that each annotation has 3 fields: type, title, and text. In the case of SDG annotations, you will see that type and title are identical. I will not go into detail why it is the case. I will just say that this is partly due to legacy systems and partly due to the way that different systems expect annotations, which is why the same piece of information, the same identificator, is copied into both type and title. All right, so the first annotation is indicator, and that provides an indicator number. 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1, and so on and so forth, right? In the case of multi-purpose indicators, which is, I don't think often you see it often in national customized data structures, but there are quite a few of those in the global data structure. This annotation needs to be repeated for every indicator number. Indicator code is the official indicator code, and that one, like CO010101, and for indicator 562 is going to be C050602. Don't try to reuse them. It's this is really for the global indicators. And you might think that this is so easy, you just repeat the indicator number, but actually for multi-purpose indicators, the syntax is different. It starts with C20, C20. So when you see an indicator that starts with C20, that means it's a multi-purpose indicator, and that means that you can't really know which goals or targets that indicator is assigned to. So long story short, they are for global indicators, and indicator codes, unlike indicator numbers, I mean, there is no point of reusing. And finally, indicator title, which is the official title of the SDG indicator, such as proportion of the population living below the international poverty line. This is, again, it helps simplify visualizations. It's repeated for every series, which of course is not very efficient, but also makes visualizations a bit easier. You may or may not wish to reuse this functionality. I would suggest that if you have the indicator title handy, just copy it. And in the case of national data structures, actually, it can be important because unlike the global the global indicator framework, national indicator framework are kind of usually less widely available. So I would suggest that you use indicator number and indicator title in your CL series code list. Any questions so far?
Abdullah.
Yes.
If I may repeat. You said annotation, you cannot use it for national data. It's only for global indicators, right?
No, that's not what I said. What I said is that annotations are used in the global data structure definition, and they can be reused in national data structure definitions. And in the case of OpenSDG, actually there is a point to it, because this is how you link your series to your indicators.
Oh, sure.
Remember, remember, we have the global SDG indicator framework, which is built around indicators. Have about 132 unique indicators. But the SDG data structure definition is built around series. Why is it? It's because each indicator can include one or more series, right? So I can't really build your DSD on indicators because each indicator actually has several sub-indicators which actually carry the data, right? So what it means is that you have this series, but then the question is, if you look at a series, how do you know which indicator it belongs to? And this is where we use annotations. The annotations indicator, it carries the indicator number, and it tells the machine which indicator a series belongs to, right? So this is the indicator, the first annotation, indicator. The second annotation, indicator code, as I explained, I would suggest that you not try to use it because this is for the global indicators. They have a specific indicator codes, and don't try to replicate that because it's made quite difficult because of the multi-purpose indicators, right? And then finally, indicator title. That's the title of the indicator. So basically what it means is that in your national customized data structure, you can, and I think you should, use annotation indicator to provide indicator number for your series, and indicator title to provide the title of the indicator that this series belongs to. And it can be quite useful to the user, as well as it is used by OpenSDT. Any further questions? I hope it will become a little clearer as we go along. Any questions? No questions. Okay, let's go. So if we look at the series code list, you can open it. You can open the series code list in your in Notepad or in your browser, and this is what you will see. This is the code for the very first series, proportion of population below the international poverty line. And if you look at the XML, I mean, it's meant to be machine readable, but it's also meant to be user readable, so you can kind of read it. So what you will see is that first we declare the code, SI_POV_day1, probably the most well-known series in the framework. And then you will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 annotations. The first annotation is an indicator, and this is, and you can see that the annotation title and type are both indicator. And annotation text carries the indicator number 1.1.1.1. So this is probably the most important one. This is what links the series to the indicator. Indicator code, that's the global indicator code, C010101. And then indicator title, that is the title of the indicator itself. I mean, it's cut off on the right, but this is the title of the indicator from the SDG framework. Okay, and then you will see another annotation order, and you will see that it comes with ID SDMX. This is because this is one of the standardized actionable annotations. We'll look at that a little bit later. And then after the annotations, you have the name of the code, which is the name of the series, proportion of population below international poverty line, and then you have reference to the indicator at the end. So if you open the SL series code list in your browser or in your Notepad++ or another XML editor, this is what you will see. Any questions? No questions, okay. So if you look at SDMX constructor, it's a bit cramped here, but we will have a look at the SDMX constructor a little bit later. So this is Ethiopia's code list, and you will see that there are, I mean, SDMX constructor, its recent versions, they recognize annotations and they present them and they make it possible for you to edit them in SDMX constructor. So you will see that it identified annotations, indicator code, indicator title, order, and retired series. These are the annotations that SDMX constructor has detected, has found in the code list. And it presents them for you to edit, and you can, And you can use these. You will see that for each annotation takes up 2 columns. And in the first column is just a repeat of the annotation title. The second column, which is for text, is actually where the payload is carried, right? So for each annotation, you have 2 columns. For indicator, in the first column, you have just the word indicator. In the second column, you have the indicator number. In the second case, you have the first column indicator code, and the second column will indicate global indicator code, which I suggest you not use. And in the third case, you have the annotation indicator title, and then in the second column, you have the actual indicator title, and they suggest that you do use this one. Then aside from those 3 annotations that we have looked at, indicator, indicator code, indicator title, aside from those, we also have additional annotations used in the SL series code list. The first one is order. This is a standardized annotation that I was talking about. And it's used to order the series in the code list. It's a standardized annotation. It's defined in the guidelines, which I mentioned. So which is why it had the ID at SDMX. This is how the SDMX tools recognize standardized annotations. It's simply used to define a code, and it's in the global code list, it's done with the increment of 10. So we have 10, 20, 30, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's also useful for you. You can use the order annotation in order to insert your national indicators where appropriate. Because when you add codes to a code list, you add them at the end of the code list. But actually, your series, the series that you add to the series code list, they probably belong somewhere in the middle. So you have a series for indicator 511, but you're adding it to the end of the list. So the order annotation, it lets you specify that even though this code comes at the end of the code list, it should be displayed in the middle. So have a look at that, and the increment of 10 allows you to insert, sort of figuratively speaking, insert the series where they need to be displayed. And the other annotation that is used, in the code list is retired series. And that just means that the indicator to which the series belongs has been retired from the framework. It only applies to those that have been formally, the indicators that have been formally retired so far in the first review in 2020. And then, of course, we have an upcoming indicator framework review, after which probably a few more indicators will be retired. And then those series that belong to retired indicators will be marked as such. And that's all. So any questions about the annotations, please, I would very much welcome your questions. Please go ahead if you have any. I hear no questions. So let me share SDMX constructor, and we'll have a look at how annotations look in SDMX constructor. It's going to update itself. It's going to take a minute. Okay, so SDMX constructor is updating itself. Any questions? If you have any further questions about annotations, now is your chance. No questions. Okay. So I will say this. If you use OpenSDG, and I hope that James and Sarah will add on that later. But if you use OpenSDG, you really need to use the annotations to for your data to be properly displayed, because OpenSDG recognizes these annotations. It reads them from the code list, and it uses the annotations to assign your series, the series that you introduce into the code list, that you add to the code list, to correctly assign them to indicators and display them under the indicators that you specify. When you use OpenSDG, of course, they displays by the goal. And if you simply add your series to the code list, then the machine will not automatically know what the goal is, or the target is, or indicator number is for the series that you add. And you need to use annotations to specify that. Okay, I'm just still waiting for my constructor to start. Just a minute, it's almost done. Yeah, finally. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, can you see SDMX constructor? Can someone tell me if they can see SDMX constructor?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great. So this should be familiar to you. And of course, I still have all the structures from the countries that we configured in Zimbabwe. Okay, so I'll pick Ethiopia. Could be any other. And we have the Ethiopia's SDG data structure definition. And then I pick the series code list. This is what we discussed. All right, and as we said, this is the code list, and these are the annotations. They already are there. They are already in their columns, so you don't have to add the annotations per se. You just need to complete them. If we scroll down, then we'll see that, for example, Ethiopia added code LET 01010101, the poverty headcount ratio, which is a new series for indicator 111. So what can we do? We can say indicator. We can see indicator in slash number. Indicator number is 111. Indicator title will take from the global indicator title, because this is this series. This is not a national indicator. This is a national series for the global indicator. It's complicated, isn't it? So what we say is we add indicator title, and we add the indicator title. Okay. So then the question to you, what else should I do? I've added indicator number. I've added indicator title. We skip indicator code because, as I said, it's only for the global. It should be used only for the global indicators. So what else can we do? Any guesses? What do you think we can do? Okay, let me give you a hint. This series is for indicator 111, but if we look at the bottom here, it says record 792 of 806. So even though this series is for indicator 111, then if someone visualizes the code list, it's going to come at the bottom. So what do we do now? We need to change, well, we don't have to, but it would be a good idea to change the order. And if we scroll up, we see that we have two series for the for indicator 111, proportion of population below the international poverty line and employed population below the international poverty line. So employed population below international poverty line has order 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign this new series order 25. And that will put it with this series at the end of the series for indicator 111. So it will be displayed together with those series in a system like that. It probably doesn't make much difference in OpenSDG, but when you create your structures, OpenSDG is not the only system that may be used for their visualization. So it's a good idea to update the order as well. All right. Now, Testa, are you there? Testa?
Yes.
Okay, since we're using the Ethiopian DSD, you have the honor of helping me with this next series. So our next series is real yield tons per hectare of harvested land. Tell me, what do I need to do to add annotations for this series?
We need to add, I think, ET, then.
No, you look at this row, which is highlighted. You already have the code. You added this series in Zimbabwe. So you have the ID, the code for this series, which is to L underscore L underscore ET underscore 02003 underscore 01. That is your series.
Yes.
It already has the ID, it already has the name. So how do we add annotations to it? Tell me, what do I do first?
I think so. You're asking me on the indicator or adding the global digit like.
No, I'm just asking you which annotations I should add for this to properly display in OpenSDT and in other systems. So what do? We have the indicator column. What do I put here? It's not rocket science. This column says indicator. All the previous rows have indicator. So what I should put in there is indicator. And now indicator in. This is the text for indicator annotation. What do I put in here? Anyone can help?
The goal we put here, the goal. If it's going
We
to
put
be
here
like,
the indicator. Yeah, we put here not just the goal, the indicator number.
yes.
So what's the indicator number
Numbers,
for
yeah.
this series? So what is it?
Two point 2.3.
2.3. That's right. How do you know that?
I find it in the series of the code she gave in the ID.
That's right. This is Carlos, right? Because I cannot see you, but I think I recognize your voice. That's right. Because when we worked on the data structure definition, the codes for this series, they follow the recommended pattern. _L followed by the country code, followed by goal target indicator number. So we know that this belongs to indicator 2.2.3. All right, so what do I put into indicator code?
Indicator codes.
Yes, here we have indicator code. This was series code. This is indicator code. What do I put into indicator code? I skip it. I skip it
Nothing.
because nothing, because it's only for global indicators. And then what do I do? And then what do I do? What do I do next?
Yeah, we put indicator title.
Indicator title, and then let's scroll
I
up.
think for the next one, we give the equivalent name in the international how to say the international codes. Not the name in the local for us, but the international in the SDG, isn't it?
Well, if you're adding a national theory, the thing is that this is a good question. I touched upon it during the presentation. The thing is, you can add a national series to a global indicator, or you can add a national indicator to the global framework. There are two slightly different things. In the first case, you are still using the global indicator, but you're adding your national indicator, a national series to the global indicator to better address it, to better address the target, for example. In the second case, even your indicator is national. So in this case, this is supposedly indicator 223, right? 020203. And that's a global indicator. So that means that we can find its title in the global framework. And if we scroll up and find 223, then we can find the global indicator title, prevalence of malnutrition among children under 5 years of age. Sorry, it's 222. I'm sorry. 2 to 3 prevalence of anemia. That's the indicated title, prevalence of anemia. This is indicated 2 to 3. However, in this case, it seems to me that this series, the real yield, tons per hectare, is not really. Excuse me, can you see the SDMX constructor? Because I'm not sure I'm sharing it anymore.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yeah, we can still see it.
You can still see,
Yeah.
you can still see it. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems that the indicator 2 to 3, which is women with anemia, does not really. I mean, I think that this series serial yield does not really match the indicators. So probably in this particular case, I would say that it needs to be reviewed which indicator this series actually belongs to, because I don't think that it's relevant to the indicator, to the global indicator 2 to 3. So Desta, I would suggest that you review this and you find out which indicator this series should actually belong to, and you act accordingly. So the next one, is this point clear? Because the problem with this series is that it purports to belong to indicator 2 to 3, which is according to its code. But the indicator 2 to 3 is about prevalence of anemia in women. It's not, you know, an appropriate indicator for this series. So there's something wrong here that needs to be investigated, I think. Let me just give me a second. Let me check. Let me double check. Yes. Indicator 2 to 3. After the addition, what it says is that prevalence of anemia in women. So when you have a series serial yield, it doesn't belong to the indicator 2 to 3. There's a mistake here. And it needs to be addressed. Maybe it's indicator 241, maybe it's another indicator, maybe it's a national indicator, not the global indicator, but something needs to be done about this series. We don't know which indicator it really should belong to. But then let's do the next one. Next one is the next one also has a problem. It's maternal mortality rate per 1,000 live birth, and the issue here is, who can say what the issue here is? Who can say what the issue is with this series? Any guesses? Well, if we go to, I mean, this is series maternal mortality ratio indicator 311. And if we go to indicator 311, then we find maternal mortality ratio. In other words, this series is already there. It should not have been added. You don't add a series which is already on your which is already on the code list. This is not an local Ethiopian series. This series is part of the global code list. So Abate, Testa, this series should be removed. It should not be here. It's already part of the global code list. Is it clear? Is this point clear?
Yes.
Okay, so this series should be removed and this series should be fixed. It should have the correct indicator. Population using the basic water services. And that is indicator 611. And that is actually, in this case, we can proceed because this series belongs to indicator 611. Indicator 611 has population about safely managed water facilities and improved water facilities. It doesn't say about basic drinking water services. And it's not part of the global methodology or metadata, therefore we will proceed with this one. So what do I put first? Indicator. Indicator number is what? What do I put here? Any guesses? What's the indicator number for this series?
Normally 611.
611, that is correct. It's once again, so what we have here is it's a custom national series for the global indicator. Okay, so I have the same global indicator, but under it, the country decided to add a national series. What do I put here? Indicator code. What do I put here?
I think it is a national one, so we can leave it, or
We can skip. We skip
yeah,
it.
we can skip. Yeah.
Well, that's a good. Actually, that's a good point. It's a global indicator. It's a national series. Still don't use it. It's a national series. It's custom. It's not part of the global framework, so it's better not to use it at all for national series. And then we have indicated title. And for indicated title, we can copy it from here. We find indicator 611. And we copy the proportion of population using safely managed water services. So the global indicator, the global series, is safely managed water services. The national series is basic water services. Also note that the order of this indicator is 2570. You see? The order for this series is 2570. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste the indicated title here. And here I add 2575, so it will come after the global series 611. And so on and so on, and then we apply, and then we save it as usual by exporting it to Ethiopia's registry. Is this clear? Any questions about the SDMX annotations? No questions. Okay, great. In that case, thanks for your attention. And I turn to Sarah and James. Is there anything you would like to add about annotations in the context of OpenSDG?
I don't think so from my side. I don't know if James has anything to add, but I think you've covered it really well, Abdullah. And really the main thing is to get it right in the SDMX, and then it should just feed in to your OpenSDG platform well.
Yeah, echo that.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Sarah and James. Then in that case, we completed the coverage of SDMX annotations. And now the floor is open for any questions in connection with SDMX or OpenSDG as we agreed. You requested the training and we are open. We are here to answer any of your questions. Please go ahead. Any questions whether related to SDMX annotations or SDMX in general or OpenSDG or anything else, please go ahead. I'm not seeing very active participation. Demba, if my memory is correct, it was you who requested a training in additional training in SDMX at the end of March. So do you have any questions in connection with this training? Demba?
Yeah, yes, I think it's what we did today. I would like to have more details if you wanted to add a new roles inside the SDMX constructor. Like we did today. I think it's fun.
Okay. So you wanted to ask about you wanted more coverage of SDMX annotations specifically?
Yeah. As you know, during the workshop, we used the information we had to populate the SDMX. And when we return, we have new elements we have to add. And I forgot some steps of making it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Demba. Ladies, gentlemen, any further questions? Well, all right. I don't see any further questions. So I'm here, remain at your disposal. Please do send, and you can always contact me by email in case you have any questions. And in the meantime, I give the floor back to Angela, and maybe Angela or Sarah and James have their own questions for the participants. Thanks.
Okay, maybe, thank you, Abdullah. Maybe Sarah and James could go first because mine is more now the future, which is not
Yeah,
so
that's
far from
fine.
now. So Sarah and James could go first, then I could come.
Yeah, I just wanted to, well, I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, I emailed everyone in the group about an Open SDG upgrade that is available for everyone to upgrade to. In the email, it had some instructions on how to do this. I just wondered if anyone had tried to give it a go or wanted to give it a go and wasn't really sure what to do. Because I can't remember if I said in the email, it's not 100% necessary, but we would always kind of recommend that our Open SDG users keep as up to date with their version as possible, because we fix problems that come up with, there might be various bug fixes that we've solved, and there's usually new functionality. And this time there is some really useful functionality in that we've improved the site configuration forms. So when you go to make a site change, the forms, if you've upgraded, are much more user-friendly and easier to use, really. So I would recommend, if you haven't thought about it already, giving that a go to use the upgrade instructions. Yeah, I'll let people have time to ask a question if they've a bit confused by it, or has anyone actually given it a go already?
Okay, hello everyone. For Senegal team, we didn't update yet because we were updating the platform. As you know, the change you ordered about the text in the dashboard, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We would like to finish this first before upgrading, or it's or there's not a link between. We would like to finalize all the updates before making the new update you sent.
Okay, that makes sense. Taking on one thing every step at a time. It doesn't matter if you decide that you don't have to have your platform perfect before you make this upgrade. It's not going to, it won't change anything automatically on your website. So you can finish this little bit that you're doing now, upgrade, and then carry on adding your platform updates whenever you like as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else got any thoughts on upgrading? If you haven't thought about it yet, just have a look back at my email that I sent last week and see if you can just work your way through the instructions. It's really there's really simple changes that you need to make. It's just going into the files and just changing the number. So the actual thing that you're doing isn't very complicated. It's just, again, if you haven't used GitHub in a while or you haven't done anything on your platform yet, it'll just be recapping those steps of making a feature branch, merging it to develop, merging it to master. So yeah, it's just taking you through that journey that we always talk about as well. So it could be some good practice for you before you start making more changes, if that's the stage that you're at. I think that's everything. James, did you have anything else to add on that or anything else?
No.
Over to you, Angela.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah and James. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the colleagues for coming for this additional bit of the training. But of course, this doesn't mark any end of anything. If anything, it should be the beginning, because it looks like a lot of people probably abandoned this work. I get that sense. But maybe to help us, keep it on our radar, the plan is we'll have now catch-ups with individual countries going forward. And I'm proposing starting 15th April. So 15th they'll just be like really short meetings of about 30 minutes maximum. And then we can decide on a frequency of when to have the next meeting and so on, depending, of course, on the level at which the country is. So the proposal so far is 15th would have Cameroon and Ethiopia. So Ethiopia would be like in the morning at 11, then Cameroon in the afternoon at about 3 East African time. Then Kenya, Senegal on 16th April, with Kenya at about, with Senegal at 15 hours, then Kenya at 16 hours. Then Morocco, Uganda, and Zimbabwe on 17th April, and would have them all in the afternoon, each for 30 minutes from 15 hours with Morocco first. 15:45 Uganda, and then Zimbabwe at 16:30 East African time. Yeah, so I will be sending out meeting links, and the issue here is if there are other colleagues from your end who you think should be part of these meetings, because they are typically for us to follow up with respect to we'll have a particular checklist on what should we have done by when, leave alone the action plan in terms of actual implementation of SDMX related aspects, as well as Open SDG related aspects, because if we have intentions of launching our platforms before the end of this year, we need to be sure that there are real concrete actions happening on the ground. So colleagues, I don't know what you think or feel about this, but this is what we're proposing from our end with regard to catching up and ensuring that we don't fall off the radar. I know there are a lot of activities going on. For example, Uganda, have the census in May. So colleagues are really busy, running around to ensure that things go well. But we'll try to see how to accommodate and be mindful of the ongoing activities, the major ones, and so on. So the point is, let's see how to fit within the very busy schedules that you have to ensure that this activity is not, lost somewhere along the way. So we want to keep it on the radar, because at the end of the day, we want to launch, but also then, see in terms of following up within your NSSs, how can you expand implementation of these tools and so on and so forth. So that is the proposal. I see Leonard's hand up. So Leonard, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Angela. I feel like I need to give you an update of what you are doing this side because I don't feel like you see us like some of our colleagues. We are not serious about this. My update is truly we were working tirelessly to try and find our updated indicators, and for now we are at 50%. So we're waiting to have updated SDG indicators at least 50% plus, so that we start working on it. And we were having a problem of having only the national indicators without provincial. So we're working again with Africa Development Bank, our consultant, so that we help each other in standardize the form, so that we don't report twice, as per you and Abdullah's proposal. So we're having meetings with them and explain my position, so that we come up with the one standard format, so that when I update our forum, our SDG framework, then they automatically have that form filled, so that they can use it for their purpose. So that is the thing. And on positive note, our final draft for the work plan was approved as it is. So we are working by that for now. And some of our colleagues from our office, they wanted to push for national indicators, but I discourage them from giving them to us now, since we are still updating the global SDGs. So we're pushing for having 75% plus, so that we start updating our open SDG platform. So this is the update from Zimbabwe. And I feel we are lagging behind, because we need something productive in terms of using the platform, updating it. But I promise, coming next month, we'll be knocking on Abdullah and Sarah's doors, asking for help. And I think we'll catch up soon.
That's
Okay,
great, Leonard.
thank
We
you.
look forward to the knocking.
Thank you, Leonard. But I
Anytime,
just
Leonard, anytime.
okay. So I just letting colleagues know that this is just as part of follow-up from the project end, because unlike other trainings whereby you're just doing knowledge transfer and maybe rarely follow up, this particular one is a bit different in the sense that the expectation is we are working towards it's just a project for which you have to see tangible results. Yeah, so that's the uniqueness about this one, and that is why there are follow-ups. It's coming from a place of knowing that, of course, NSOs are handling a lot of things, and it is possible that an activity can fall off the radar. So we just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that as well. So that is the place from which these catch-up meetings are coming from. So anyway, as I was saying, I will share or send links to at least the colleagues that are known. But if there are other colleagues that you think should be part of the meetings from your end, you need to either forward the link to them or send their emails for inclusion. And then we'll see how to take it from there in terms of frequency. Yeah, but that is pretty much the purpose of the catch-up meetings, and that is why they're also short. Yeah, we know people are busy, but yes, let's not lose sight. I think Abdullah will share his presentation. Abdullah, hope that is okay with all colleagues. I think the emailing addresses are the same for everybody else. So even if you forward it to that whole general mailing list, colleagues should be able to get copies of that presentation. Yeah, so that is
Sure.
okay. Thank you, Abdullah. So that is one important communication or piece of information I felt I should share before colleagues are released to continue with their work or go home, depending on what time it is at your end. Yeah, but please feel free to reach out at any time with respect to the projects. If you're stuck on anything, and I mean anything, yeah, anything, whether it is on how to get data from other colleagues within the NSS, if you're struggling, we could advise on maybe mechanisms you could use on how to, ensure that you get the data and things like that. So let the communication lines remain open and active towards these goals, and it shouldn't end there, because there's still so much to do within Africa's national statistical system when we talk about, getting to that place of ensuring that data is easily searchable, findable, interoperable, all that, So so that is really important for us here, and I believe it's equally important for the countries. Fatimacho, I've taken note. You said you included your colleague, the head of, I don't know what department, but she's welcome. Yeah, so that is one issue. I wanted to say something once it skipped out of my mind. Okay, when I remember, I will say it. Yeah, but yes, this is pretty much it. Yes, we'll be planning to have a stats talk on the same sometime, whether in May or June or when, I don't know, we'll be communicating. And for countries that by that time would want to present something on your progress or how you find this beneficial, you'll be welcome to participate. So that we work towards that, maybe we'll be ready enough to share our country experience during that time. So I don't know, for some of you, you could have participated in some of these talks. We'll call it Stats Talk Africa, but it's a platform whereby we really do it's used to share knowledge, demystify statistical or AI, big data related topics, and to a whole big audience, including NSOs, the UN system, so broad across, the academia, ECA, and several others. So it is very, very big, because we have a database of like over 1,000 people. Yeah, so it's a good platform to highlight the work that you're doing in country. Maybe, it could attract more funding from within or whichever direction. So I think some of these initiatives we should, really work towards, highlighting or making the work that we do visible that way. Yeah, and this is one of the work that we'd like to highlight. I hope by then our countries will be ready to present something. We'll keep you posted though on how things are going, and also share with you information on when exactly the event will be happening. So I felt I needed to share this, and then if colleagues have any questions before we leave, you're free to share, but this shouldn't be the only time when you say something. Say something on the WhatsApp group, say something on the email. Please, you'll not be ignored. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to say. And if there is no submission from any other person coming from the end, then I think we should close, and until we meet again for, it can be anything. It can also just be a discussion of the challenges that we're encountering. It may not necessarily be a training, but if you feel the need for us to gather at any one time, please do not keep quiet. Let us know, and let us all gather and see how to put our heads together to make things happen at the end of the day. So from me here and our colleagues, I believe Abdullah, Sarah, and James, we're grateful that you made the time to come and attend this training. The material will be shared, or the presentation will be shared, but please feel free to reach out to us at any time. I will be ready to respond. So this is it, and I'd like to say bye.
Thanks so much, Angela, and Abdullah for
Thanks very much
presenting.
for organising all the attendees.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure seeing you.
Oh,
And
okay,
please
goodbye.
reach out.
Okay,
Bye.
goodbye to all of us.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Carlos, you for